GM, good morning. Welcome to the Milk Road Show, the daily crypto show where we're diving into crypto updates quicker than a rug pull leaves your wallet dry. I'm your host, Jay Hamilton, and today we are joined by OSF or OV, founder of RektGuy, former TradFi trader from Barclays, and angel investor. In today's show, we're going to talk about how OV sees the current macro situation, how to prepare your investments for the upcoming election. Where does OV think we are in this cycle, and where does he think we're going? His take on what's happening in meme coins, because you cannot not pay attention to it at this point. And finally, overview of OV's portfolio and how he is structuring himself to capitalize on Q4 and Q1. Before we jump in, are you subscribed to us on YouTube? Because I really want you to. And if you do right now, you could win some free stuff. You could win our crypto investing masterclass. You could win a Milk Road Pro subscription for a year and a bunch of other prizes. So hit that subscribe button on YouTube today and help us get to 10,000 subscribers. Also, got to give a shout out to our friends over at Gemini. Discover Gemini, the US-based exchange built for new and advanced traders. As a special welcome gift, they are offering new customers $15 in Bitcoin just for trading. At Gemini, security is the top priority. As a licensed full reserve exchange and custodian, your assets are well protected. Plus, they offer cutting-edge security features like passkeys to keep your accounts safe. This exchange is setting the standard for compliance and innovation so you can trade with confidence. Head over to gemini.com/milkroad and start trading today to earn your $15 in Bitcoin. Sign up now and get ready to join the trading fun. Ovi, welcome back to the Milk Road Show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again. It's always great to be back.
We're excited to have you. A couple more gray hairs as you have your newborn daughter in the world. How you feeling, man?
Yeah, I feel good. Things are getting exciting again. We had a very long, slow, choppy summer, and October is in full swing. There's lots of things to look at. We have the elections in 2 or 3 weeks. So yeah, I'm feeling great. It's a good environment to be trading in, and it's definitely welcome after the slow period we had over summer, I think.
Yeah, no kidding, eh? It feels like we've been talking about it's going to have everything's lining up for this great bull market to come, but everyone's wondering, when is it coming? When's it going to actually go? Just get your thoughts overall. Are you feeling like we're going to see a bull market to end this year and into next year?
Yeah, look, I think my view was always that we would rally in September and October into the elections. And then it just depends on the outcome. If Kamala wins, we have to expect we'll sell off a little bit. Even if Trump wins, I kind of in the camp, it will sort of be like a sell the news type moment, because after that, he doesn't get inaugurated until February. I don't think we'll hear any information with regard to his various Bitcoin policies until later next year, and we don't know how long they'll take to implement. So my gut is like, people will speculate into the outcome, which is what we're seeing right now. And I kind of am in the school of thought that we probably sell off a little bit after that, and perhaps next year, as things consolidate, we can start to see like a larger and bigger move higher.
Just while we're on the election, one take that we've heard a few times recently on the show is the concern of what happens if the election is tight and if it's contested, and if Trump causes a big scene, if he loses, or if it's very close in a certain state and they need to go to recount. What are your thoughts on how the election could potentially play out in the days and weeks following it, and how that might affect markets?
I think my take on it is that whatever happens, you're kind of meant to fade that move a little bit. So I think, if Kamala wins, everyone's, crypto's going to sell off. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if on that day you see like a 20% wick lower on Bitcoin, but then it then ends the day unchanged because people are like, oh, it's actually not that bad. Similarly, if Trump wins, I think you'll see this big wick higher, and then we could potentially even end the day unchanged. So I think whichever happens, you're meant to fade the moves in both of those directions. If it's close, I think you kind of like sell off. I think, markets have proven historically that they don't like uncertainty, and we kind of have a bit of uncertainty now. So that's something to consider. But yeah, it's just like, I think any close call or recounting of the votes and all that kind of stuff, I would expect things to sell off in that kind of environment.
Other than the US elections and just wanting it to be over so market uncertainty disappears and we can all keep moving forward, what other macro events or macro news are you watching right now that is moving markets?
Yeah, look, it's important to keep track of what's going on with rates and monetary policy, etc., or the macroeconomic data that we're getting. I mean, we had a really strong payrolls number to kick off this month, which is interesting because people were previously worried about a recession. Now you have the situation where it seems like inflation is going lower, but we still have a strong US economy, while the Fed has pretty clearly stated they're going to be in rate cutting mode. And I think just one payrolls number is not going to change that. And so what's important is, do we get a 25 basis point cut or a 50 basis point cut, the next FOMC, and what does that look like for the next 6 to 12 months? And the Fed has a lot of ammo, I mean, the base rate is around 475, 500 basis points right now. It's very high. It's the highest it's been in about 40 years. So they have a lot of room and ammo to continuously cut rates, which I do think will drive markets. It's one thing to say it's priced in. It's another thing to realize that people sometimes, from an asset allocation standpoint, people sometimes don't take action until those rate cuts have actually happened. And one example I can give you is like, hey, you may have some money right now in a savings account, in a Chase account or whatever, and you're getting, Goldman Sachs Marcus account, and you're getting paid like 5%, right? And if they cut rates over the course of 6 to 12 months, suddenly you go from earning 5% to 2% or 1%. And then you're like, okay, this doesn't make much sense to me anymore. Where can I invest this money to get more return? And that's when you start reallocating your assets, right? But you wouldn't do that until that rate becomes lower. So now think about that on a much larger scale, on an institutional scale. And there you have it. That's the reason why I think rate cuts the effective rate cuts aren't actually priced in until they happen. And that's something I would say I'm pretty constructive on. So overall, I'm pretty constructive from a macro standpoint. And I think as next year progresses, we'll start to see these things have a bigger impact on markets and inevitably crypto as well.
Interesting that you choose the word as next year progresses. So do you think that it's more likely do you think we're going to get this bull market, and do you think it comes next year? Because I think the interesting thing that we've been hearing so much on the show is it feels like the setup has never been so good. We got liquidity is increasing. We've got rate cuts, as you said, coming down. We got the China stimulus that was announced recently that is just putting so much money into the market. The US election coming up, which is always exciting. The halvening obviously passed already this year. Like, it feels like it's just like checkbox, checkbox, checkbox. And then, which is leading a lot of guests to say that they're feeling very bullish, maybe more bullish than they felt in a while, or feeling like people aren't bullish enough. You always tend to have a little bit more of a conservative take. So I'm curious to get your take on, are you feeling overly bullish right now? Or are you still, playing it cautiously?
Yeah, I think the time to be bullish really was beginning of September. Like, sentiment was so bad, prices were depressed. You could have made a lot of money if you had gone long then. I think that was the time to get bullish, kind of fade the public consensus. Now everyone's like mega bullish again, and we're close to the highs. It does make me feel a bit more conservative and cautious. Look, over the medium term and over next year, I am really bullish. Like, everything is lining up to be bullish, and I'm always bullishly inclined, but I'm not in a position where like I feel like I want to be like, hey, I'm going max long risk, and I'm going to swing it for the next year, because I do think we'll still see volatility, and I do think there are some risks. But there's two schools of thought. One is we're now late in the cycle, and the other is we're just at the beginning of this cycle. And I think I've gone from feeling like the former more towards the latter, so increasing my bullishness, because it does seem like this was just sort of like the test run, and there are very serious big things that could happen over the next 12 months that could really push things higher. For me, the biggest thing really is what Trump does with crypto policy and Bitcoin. If you have a world where Gensler is out the door and the new SEC is someone who is pro innovation and not hung up about regulating everything, and if you have a situation where Trump makes Bitcoin a reserve currency, that's going to have a huge impact for crypto, Bitcoin and crypto overall. So these are the kind of things that I think are definite possibilities, which make me feel like I want to stay long and have a decent amount of risk on, I would say.
Yeah, the interesting thing about those things is, as you said, those are still late 2025. Even if they do happen in 2025, like those are definitely longer things that could sustain a bull run if it were to start sooner. Last time you came on the show, you were a little bit more conservative. It was summer. We had been chopping for a while. You were pulling more of your portfolio into the majors at that time. I think you were even putting some money on the sidelines, like kind of you're playing it smart. Curious now, how are you allocating your portfolio? How are you thinking about it given the change in sentiment?
Yeah, so I think I was a bit more defensively positioned during the summer, and beginning of September, I just felt like, well, it wasn't with conviction, but I felt like if I'm going to take a shot at this market, now is the time to do it, because we're 2 months away from elections. And if Trump wins or if his probability increases, we will go a lot higher. That was my view. So I was like, this is probably like a 50-50 bet, or a higher than 50-50 bet if you're thinking about it in EV terms. So I moved most of my portfolio into meme coins. I still, again, it wasn't with a lot of conviction, and I've kind of got a bit like cautious on meme coins, but I just felt like every time Bitcoin pumped, alts didn't really pumped. ETH BTC has moved lower, but meme coins always showed pretty strong beta to Bitcoin. So that was my move. It was like, okay, let me move to meme coins because they're riskier, but I think they will still move with the market, move with Bitcoin. And obviously that was a good move for the last 2 months. And I'm still have that position. I'm still running it. I think I still want to run it for the next 2 weeks. My aim is to, I think, take off a decent amount of risk, maybe like 40 to 50% prior to the election result. So maybe in the last week of October, start reducing some things. But I'm still pretty like aggressively positioned from a weighting standpoint now compared to how I was 2 or 3 months ago. And the most aggressive I've been, I think, since like January, I would say.
Wow. Okay. And that is all in meme coins. You're not in any of the other narratives that we've talked lots about on the show, or we talked a little bit about who's the next L1 and looking at Sui and Aptos. We've talked about the AI times crypto and looking at BitTensor. Any of those that you're in, or is all meme coins?
Like 95% meme coins right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, and what about, I should ask first, what about Sol, Bitcoin, ETH? Quick thoughts on any of those?
I do, ETH is really tempting here to me. Like, it's just underperformed so much, and it's really been a sucker's trade this year, but it is tempting to me. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw like a 20% ETH correction against the others. It wouldn't be, the problem is it's lacking catalysts. We've had the ETF, the flows are disappointed. It doesn't feel like we're getting any adoption from the TradFi world on ETH compared to Bitcoin. But because it now feels so faded, I wouldn't be surprised to see some form of ETH outperformance between now and the end of the year. So that to me is a tempting trade. You just have to be very patient in it. And it's just a question of, do you stick to stuff like Sol or Sui, which is kind of like, it's going to move well with the market, or do you try and play for that outperformance and be patient in something like ETH? And that to me is tempting, I would say.
Interesting. Okay. Let's go over to meme coins, since we can't avoid them right now. And first, I just want to ask, why do you think meme coins are such a good beta play to Bitcoin?
It's just where all the fast money is. That's what I would say. I think there's so much of retail now that doesn't want to make just a 20% or 30% return on Bitcoin. So many people want to make that 2x, 3x, 5x, 10x, 100x, whatever it is. And it's clear now the only place to be able to do that is meme coins. Altcoins have performed so terribly this year, and everyone is now aware of the whole VC game and dumping their vested supply and all that kind of stuff. So people who are chasing higher returns than Bitcoin are aware that their best chance is in meme coins. And as a result, that's where money goes when Bitcoin pumps. And everyone does the same thing. I mean, I just explained how I did the same thing at the beginning of September to get more risk on and to get more beta. I think that's how pretty much almost every retail investor is thinking, whether you stick to something that's like safe, like Doge or SHIB, or you go to like Pepe or WIF, or you get a bit more degen and start picking smaller market cap stuff. That just depends on the person and the risk appetite. But generally you're seeing the entire meme complex rally with Bitcoin, and we've seen that multiple times this year, and we're seeing it once again now. And I think the more times this happens, the more it solidifies, and the more confidence someone will have to take bets on meme coins as a way to express high beta risk in the market. And while this cycle continues, I think that's just going to be the trend. Like, people will buy into meme coins. Now, the caveat there is, like, which meme coins do you buy? And there's so many now, and I think liquidity is split across lots of different things. But it does feel like, with the whole Murad stuff as well, the market is now gravitating towards maybe 10 to 20 coins, which are like, hey, these are the chosen coins that will always move with the market or do well, and perhaps move at a higher beta to the market. And then there's the other stuff, which is like, okay, if you do want to gamble and try and make that higher return, basically.
Since you brought up Murad, because he's getting all the attention, for everybody who has not heard the name Murad, he is the Memecoin guy who did a presentation at Token 2049 that went viral, talking all about the meme coin super cycle and why he believes that meme coins are the best investment. I'm just going to pull up his top 10 list. Would love to get your thoughts on this. And maybe these are the ones that you're looking at, or maybe there's other ones that you want to share with us. Okay, I've got Murad's top 10 meme coin list up here. We've got SPX 6900, the S&P 6900. We got GigaChad, Mogecoin, Apu, PopCat, Bitcoin, Retardio, Lock-in, Mini, and USA. Those are his top 10. Would love to go through these and get your thoughts on each one, starting with the top one, S&P 6900, and maybe explain S&P 6900 for those who don't know this one.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting one. It's actually a meme coin that was around over a year ago. Painfully, I think I used to own like 1 or 2% of the supply, and probably sold it for a loss a few weeks later. And it's really just come out of nowhere ever since Murad started talking about it. But the whole idea behind this is, the meme is, let's flip the market cap of the S&P 500, which is obviously trillions of dollars, if that makes sense. And I think the idea behind this, and also behind a lot of these coins, is creating this idea of a cult, like the feeling that people own these coins not necessarily because they want to make short-term money, but because they want to prove a point, or they want to behave irrationally to see how far they can push something to get to the craziest level possible. And I think the best example of that kind of behavior really was GameStop. Back in 2021, I believe, early 2021. And also what happened in crypto after that as well. And I'm sure many people round-tripped their GameStop P&L. I'm sure many people round-tripped their NFT P&L in 2021, and their meme coin P&L in 2021. Many people probably round-tripped stuff this year. And the reality is, there's never a huge amount of liquidity to monetize the stuff at the top, and people get too greedy and just want to keep running these things. But you need that behavior. You need that feeling of someone who is like, you know what, I don't care about making this money right now. All I want to do is see the SPX 6900 flip the S&P 500, and that would just be the most crazy thing and the most entertaining outcome. You need people to really truly feel and believe that right now, and it's only afterwards where the regret sets in. So I would say that's like the concept behind that token specifically. Like, that's the target for that token, but it's a similar vibe across all of these coins. These are cult coins where people in them have this perception where they're just completely irrational about taking profits, and they just want to hold on to these things as long as possible to see how far they can push this crazy narrative, which is what you need. And I think what Murad's done is he's made people believe again. He's made people re-believe. And even I'm questioning myself, thinking like, well, I know his targets are crazy, but what if everyone did convince themselves of this and it kept going? Like, it's that what if feeling that he's making people feel, which is causing this rally right now, which I think is what you need, really.
Let me ask this, rather than go through each one of these, because there's 10 on this list, which ones of these are interesting to you?
Yeah, I think, SPX I'm a bit cautious on, because it's run up from $10 million market cap to 750 in the space of 2 or 3 weeks. Any move like that, you should expect to see a big pullback. I really like MOG. I've personally been in MOG since it launched last year, and that's my biggest holding right now. With that one, I think everything that I just mentioned and spoke about, and everything that Murad is talking about is what Morg set out to be from day one. And I think everyone in that community was like, we don't really care about selling. We're just gonna. People had this dream of getting this thing to $1 billion when it was at like a $1 million coin, and they were like deadly serious about it. No one really even questioned it. So having known some of the holders in it for a while now, I feel like that's one where I have confidence where it will keep progressing. I like Harry Potter, Obama, Sonic, Tenini. Like that's like the definition of a cult. It's the craziest, weirdest fucking thing that I've seen in a long time, and I think something like that should do really well as well. The others, I'm less sure about. Like Mini, I don't think there's any real significance in that away from the stats that I talked about. Lock in, like I kind of get it, but I just don't think it's very memeable to a wider audience, in my opinion. It just feels a bit forced, that one to me. USA feels a bit forced. I think PopCat can do very well. We've had this whole talk about dog coins. Now it's all about cat coins, and PopCat seems to be the front runner there. Apustaja feels like you're playing second fiddle to Pepe there. It's not something I would touch. I like the concepts behind GigaChad, and I think it's a similar idea and coin to Mog. That's one I do like. It's a strong crypto meme, and I think it sort of defines this bull market pretty well. It's a coin that you hold that makes you feel energized. You know what I mean? That's how I feel owning Mog, and I think I would feel the same owning Giga. So I like that one too. I'd say that's my take on all of them.
Any that aren't on this list that you like?
Yeah, I like it. Another one that I hold is Epic Duck, which is something that Mando founded. But I like this narrative that they're spinning on that one, which is like, we're going to flip Axie Infinity, and this is the first ever gaming meme coin. And it's kind of funny because like all gaming coins have done so terribly this year, and they're all coins that again have had VC investments and had huge supply unlocks and have offered and promised all this utility that's failed and fumbled, and people are left like having felt like they invested in something real and left with nothing but air, really. And so kind of like ridiculing that and calling itself a gaming meme coin when there isn't actually a game at all, and having this target of flipping Axie Infinity, I think is kind of funny. And that's definitely caught fire recently. I mean, that's done about like a 4 or 5x, I think, in the last few days, and seems to be gaining traction. But that's one which is at like a 30 million market cap, which I think could potentially have a lot of upside if they can play the memes right and play the cards right, I think.
With all these meme coin plays, what's the trade? How are you playing these? How short term are these?
I think that's a very good question. I think it's really, right now, it really is like a 2 to 3 week play for me. And that's not to say I'm going to sell everything in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but I'm expecting most of the move to come in that time. And I would want to definitely take profits in the next 3 weeks. And if things drop off post elections, then have the ability to buy back. And if they keep going higher post elections, then fine. I'll have position sizes that are smaller, but remaining in it to benefit from the upside. So I would say for the size I'm running right now, 2 to 3 weeks. For potential position in terms of having residual positions, much longer than that. I think it could be well into next year, I would say.
When you look at the potential of the rest of this cycle, do you see yourself staying with this strategy that you have right now, or do you think that we will ever get a altcoin season and more of a typical bull market?
I think we will, but you're just battling against so much sell pressure. I really truly think and believe that's the reason why we haven't seen it this year, because all these coins, I just look at the unlock schedules, and there's just so much supply coming, and that supply which VCs and angel investors are up like multiples on. So while that continues, I think it's very hard to see an alt season. And because memes have really established themselves so well, it just feels like retail will continue to speculate and gamble on memes rather than altcoins. And I think that could be the case for the rest of the cycle. I really do.
Wow, it's wild to think that we're in this new paradigm of a crypto cycle that we've never seen before. But I mean, so far this cycle, the proof is in the pudding. So it's tough to know where to go right now. That's for sure. There's just so many opportunities, but very interesting to hear your takes. Obi, before we let you go, any final thoughts on major things that you're going to be watching for Q4 other than the election?
Yeah, look, elections, look out for the payroll numbers, look out for the inflation numbers, pay close attention to what the Fed is doing and also saying with regard to their outlook for next year, and pay close attention to any further commentary on Trump's Bitcoin policy as well. Not only things that he's promising, but any clues we can get to timelines and true focus. I think those are the main things to focus on.
Obi, thanks so much for your time today. Thanks for joining us. Always a pleasure having you on the show. Guys, if you're not following Obi on Twitter, you're going to want to make sure you follow him. We'll throw his Twitter link in the show notes. As always, thanks for joining us. Have a wicked awesome day.
Thanks for having me.
As always, if you liked today's episode, please hit subscribe and make sure you follow us so you don't miss out on the next one. There's also a link in the description to our free 5-minute daily newsletter where we simplify crypto for you while making you laugh. And if you're willing to step up your crypto investing game, we're going to also leave a link for Milk Road Pro. You get access to our portfolio where you can see exactly what we are buying. This is your #1 resource to help you invest successfully in crypto. One final note, this show is for educational purposes only and nothing we say is financial advice. Investing in crypto or any asset is risky and you should never invest more than you can afford to lose. Thanks so much for listening in, my friends. Have a wicked awesome day.